Hi, welcome back to the Three Orcs channel. Today, I'm going to talk about the best way to handle the Temple of Elemental Evil. That's a dangerous dungeon. No players have any business going there until they're at least 5th level or higher. A lot of dungeon masters start their campaigns at the village of Hamlet and at 1st level, and hopefully they get to 2nd level and survive the moat house. But after that, what are they to do? That's one of the most common questions from a dungeon master is, what do I do with my players after the moat house? They can't go to the Temple of Elemental Evil yet. They'll get slaughtered, of course. So a lot of advice come to like run another module, like the B2 or something. Fit that into the campaign area and have them run that. Well, I have a solution for that. On worldanvil.com is the Verbabont Campaign Guide 576 Common Year. 2,000 articles, dozen towns, full of characters, locations, shops, military, politics, nobles, and quests. So you can have all these quests running at the same time in your campaign, pulling the characters in different directions. So the Sheer Knob is only 10 miles south of the village of Hamlet. Ostwerk is 10 miles even farther south. I'm running the Living Greyhawk campaign modules. With the Gift of Beauty is lost on the border, and players are tracking that down. One of the nobles, Lady Eleanor, wants her treasures back from the Battle of Enmity Meadows. She sends the players to another dungeon, an ancient Shul temple in the gnarly forest, to recover her treasures. All this is aimed and geared at to peel back the layer of the onion and what's behind this campaign. At the beginning, nobody knows what's behind the bandit raids in the kingdom. Otis and Yadabe suspect it's coming from Nob. That's why they're there undercover, but they don't have proof yet. So the whole idea of this video is, what's the best way for the players to protect themselves against the leadership of the Temple of Elemental Evil? A lot of dungeon masters and players don't even think about this, that they just run the module like a board game, and they run from room to room. You go from one room to the next, killing stuff and looting as you go up levels. And finally, you get to the end of the T4 module. You finally get to the 4th level, 3rd level of the module of the Temple of Elemental Evil, and you kill the big bad guys. That is a fairly standard, generic way of running a campaign from a module. But it's not really in-depth enough for an epic campaign to think about all the ramifications behind it. Because in this campaign, if you're going to run the big epic version of it, you got to take into account all those nobles out there that are up to no good. All the different races, all the different organizations that are supporting the Temple of Elemental Evil, and the gods, and the leadership. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the contest I put up for my membership to see if they can answer this question. Welcome back to the video. So this is the splash screen of the article that I wrote for a quiz. I asked a question of my Patreon members and offered a reward if they can answer the question. I'm calling all dungeon masters. The question is to test the knowledge of the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign and win a free copy of one of my Three Orcs Dungeon Masters Guild modules that I produce. And if they can answer the question right, they get a free copy. Now, the question was, what is the most effective protection for a player character group against the leaders of the Temple of Elemental Evil? So I had a lot of people respond to that, and let me show you. Now, these are the rules. Just respond below and we'll see if you win or not. The first 2 answers correctly will be contacted and I'll send them the reward. So good luck. Scrolling all the way to the bottom, we had a lot of questions here. We had a lot of answers here. The biggest protection was, for example, guess that the best protection for a group of player characters against the leaders of the Temple of Elemental Evil will be St. Cuthbert, who is likely to appear if Uiz is summoned. And he's right, that is very good protection, but it's not the most effective way to protect the players in the campaign. Think more globally for this answer. Stanley suggested that playing my Three Orcs side quest for the village of Hamlet would level the players up enough to tackle the moat house and then finally get to the Temple of Elemental Evil and recruit Otis, Yade, and Murphles to help them take it on. Yes, that would be of help, I agree, but it's still not the most effective way to protect themselves against the leaders of the Temple of Elemental Evil. Now, I want to stress that some of these things people are looking at too narrow of a focus. They're not thinking globally. When I say leaders, I mean everybody involved. Zupmoy, Uiz, Senshok, Hedrick, and all those guys. They're extremely powerful. And how are you going to protect yourselves against them? Not when you finally get there, but throughout the whole campaign. So as a little bit of a hint, the best answer so far here was information. Information is a key thing to help you survive. Basically, the best way to counter the leadership is gathering intelligence, each successful victory of the minions of the temple, and then get Yade, Otis, and Bern and Rufus to present the secret to the Viscount and Bishop Hoffern of St. Cuthbert, and the various other heads of the churches like Reo, Tritharin, and Heronius. These are good answers. They can be guaranteed to act in defense of the Viscounty rather than secretly work for the cult of elemental evil. You know how it is when you go to an inn, you recruit a character there to join your group, to bolster your forces to go into a dungeon, like a henchman or a retainer. And sometimes they turn out to be evil, which is often in this kind of campaign. They could secretly actually work for the cult of elemental evil. A host of adventuring parties can be engaged to descend into the temple, and if Prince Thrommel is freed, that will escalate into a whole new crusade to come after the temple, and thousands of soldiers, clerics, and wizards in play. That's an excellent answer, but it's still not the most effective way to protect the players against the leaders of the elemental evil throughout the whole campaign. This is endgame he's talking about here. Okay, let's continue further. I said it's the best information so far, but what are you going to do against Hendrik, Senshak? I'm not used to my cursor on the screen. Hendrik, the supreme leader, Senshak, the 18th level wizard, a 10th level assassin. If they want them dead, the player's going to end up dead. There's nothing they can do about it. It's just simple fact. The players are out there going around killing, slaughtering monsters, and if these guys ever get wind of them, they can put an end to them easily. This is not a board game. They're not just sitting in the bottom of the dungeon waiting for the players to get there. Well, this is an active role-playing campaign. Things are happening. They're actively recruiting and supplying the rise of the Temple of Elemental Evil. There's rules for that in Nob, my article for Nob, where the recruitment schedule and what all the bandits are doing, all the pirates are doing, and the different orc bands, like the Blackthorn orcs, they're all behind all this, and they're working together. But that's a discussion for another time, another article. Okay, so I'll keep going. Now, Gabriel said anonymity. If the Temple of Elemental Evil leaders and agents don't know who they are, they can't reach them. And if they have amulets of proof against protection and location, even better. That's it. After all these people, even others actually weighed in here, and they didn't get to this. This is the most powerful way to protect the players against the leaders of Temple of Elemental Evil. And I congratulated him, and he chose the village of Shurnab, and I sent that to him through the DM's Guild. Now, anonymity is the most effective protection for player character group against the leaders because it denies the temple's powerful leadership the critical knowledge they need to act against the party. Imagine the scenario. The adventurers storm Lara's base, the Moe House. They defeat the bandits, slay the infamous Beautiful One. Perhaps one bandit escapes and reports back to the Greater Temple. Meanwhile, the victorious adventurers return to Hamlet and openly boast of their exploits at the Inn of the Welcome Wench, telling tales, buying drinks, flaunting their loot. What happens next? Hedrick, the supreme leader, the priest of Uiz, or Senshak, the supreme commander, would surely learn of their deeds. It actually says at the end of the T1 module, if somebody were to slay Lara, they're going to send a 10th level assassin after him. These figures would wield immense resources. They have spies, assassins, minions, powerful 18th level spells, even demonic allies. They wouldn't just retaliate. They would obliterate the adventurers with precision born of divine malice. Whether through demonic strike team, curses, divinations, coordinated ambushes, the temple's wrath would be swift and overwhelming. By maintaining anonymity, avoiding public boast, ensuring no witnesses escaped, the adventurers deny the temple this crucial information. Without knowing who they are or what they are hiding, the temple's leaders are left groping in the dark. The adventurers can either continue their campaign of sabotage and resistance against the temple without bringing down the full weight of the divine and mortal power upon themselves. In the battle against foes as formidable as the Temple of Elemental Evil, discretion is truly the better part of valor. And every campaign I run, I always try to drill that into the players as they're making their characters to start the campaign. I try to make them aware of this, because after a certain point in the campaign, I will not hold back. They will respond. I did the same thing with the B2 module, Return of the B2, Keep on the Borderlands. Same thing happened there. Those bandits got sick of the players messing around with them. They finally just set up some ambushes and took those players out. They were screwing around too much. And the bandits were well aware of who they were. So they were gunning for them. And you do not want to be in that position as players. So that's my full spiel on the whole entire idea behind, the contest of who had the best answer for protecting your players against the Temple of Elemental Evil agents. Do you have a better answer for that? I'd like to see that below. You can support this project on the Three Orcs Patreon channel, to where we discuss this stuff every day and collaborate on articles for the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. We have Dungeon Masters actually writing articles for these different locations, into the Nully Forest, into the Wild Coast, up to Divers, surrounding areas like the Cron Hills and Lower Mill Mountains, to expand this campaign into an epic version, like sandbox type campaign where the Game of Thrones meet the Temple of Elemental Evil. You can run a full campaign from the beginning with character backgrounds to the very end where they deal with the gods, all the way up to Loth.
Did you enjoy video? Consider tossing support on my Patreon. It's best way to support orcs. If you would like to see more content, subscribe and post comments below. It better not be bad.
Let me know what you think below, and may your dice ever roll true.